Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am super excited to have you here today because we're about to dive into a truly paradigm-shifting approach to personal finance. We're going to be unpacking some of Morgan Housel's absolutely phenomenal insights on the psychology of money. Now, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by your finances or kind of like you're playing a game where the rules are written in a totally different language, well, you are in exactly the right place. So let's just break it all down. Let's kick things off with a massive question. What is the number one thing keeping people broke? I mean, think about it for a sec. Is it the economy? A tough job market? We all share this universal anxiety, right? This nagging feeling that we're constantly falling behind our peers, just struggling to tread water while everyone else seems to be sprinting ahead. But the answer might actually surprise you. It's ignorance. It's not a lack of intelligence, it's ignorance. And honestly, that is such a powerful distinction. For the vast majority of us, financial stress isn't a failure of brain power. You don't lack the mental capacity to build wealth. It's simply a lack of awareness and just not having the right behaviors in place. We're fighting this invisible script. And the good news is, once we see it, we can completely rewrite it. Which brings us to section 1. It's behavior, not math. We really need to dismantle this intimidating myth that you've got to be some sort of math genius or have this elite finance background to secure your financial future. Think about it. In almost any other field, say open heart surgery, it's absolutely impossible for an ordinary person with no medical training to outperform a Harvard-trained doctor. It literally will never happen. But with money, it happens all the time. An ordinary high school dropout who is patient, who keeps their expectations in check, and who actually thinks long-term can easily outperform a Harvard MBA who's impulsive and lacks self-control. I mean, the MBA with all the best connections and the fanciest spreadsheets can easily go broke if their behavior is wrong. Wealth isn't about what you know. It is entirely about how you behave. Moving right along to section 2, the happiness formula. So what is this hidden psychological barrier that constantly sabotages us? Why do we feel like we're failing to keep up no matter how much money we make? Well, it turns out happiness is really just the gap between expectations and reality. If we look back at the 1950s, the average middle-class family lived in an 800-square-foot house with no air conditioning and shared one bathroom. By today's standards, we'd probably consider that extreme poverty. Yet, they were content. Why? Because their expectations perfectly match their reality. Today, though, our comparison group isn't just our next-door neighbor. It's a highly sophisticated algorithm on Instagram or TikTok serving us images of people who look wealthier, more beautiful, and happier than we are, literally 100 times a day. It's like a treadmill that constantly inflates our expectations, ensuring that gap stays wide open so we never, ever feel content. All right, section 3, the trap of status. We've got to understand why chasing status, trying to look wealthy to the outside world, actually destroys your ability to build a secure future. Here is a brutal but honestly liberating truth. People aren't impressed with you. They are just imagining themselves with your stuff. Morgan Housel shares this incredible story from back when he was a 19-year-old valet at a luxury hotel in LA. Whenever someone pulled up in a roaring Ferrari, Morgan never actually looked at the driver and thought, wow, that guy is so cool. Instead, he stared at the car and imagined himself driving it, imagining that people would look at him and think he was cool. Strangers on the street do not care about you. If you buy a flashy car just to impress them, you're literally wasting your money because they're only using your stuff to fuel their own egos. To really put this to the test, just imagine for a second that you're stranded on a deserted island. Nobody's watching you, there's zero audience. What kind of car would you drive? What kind of house would you build? The very moment the audience disappears, our financial desires instantly shift from flashy status to practical utility. We stop spending money to make strangers think we're successful, and we start spending money on things that actually foster a good life for ourselves and our families. Which brings us to section 4, rich versus wealthy. We need to fundamentally redefine our end goal here, starting with the massive difference between being rich and being wealthy. Doing this removes so much of the shame and stress from our relationship with money. Being rich simply means you have the current income to buy flashy things right now. You can make the massive mortgage payment. But being wealthy? Wealth is the money you don't see. It's the unspent money. It's the savings and investments that literally buy your independence. Think about the Vanderbilt family back in the 1800s. They were given massive trust funds and expected to live these huge, ostentatious lives. And almost without exception, the heirs were absolutely miserable because they had zero independence. Their lives were entirely dictated by maintaining their status. Now, contrast that with Ronald Reed, a humble janitor and gas station attendant who just saved a little bit consistently, lived quietly, and passed away with millions of dollars to his name. He had ultimate independence. And that leads us to this absolutely brilliant point. Every dollar of savings is a piece of your future that you own. People so often think of saving money as this painful, dreadful, delayed gratification. Like, why put away $100 now when I could spend it and have fun today? But if you flip the script, saving isn't delayed gratification at all. It is the immediate purchase of your own personal independence. When you save $100, you are buying $100 of freedom. You're literally buying a better night's sleep. All right, final part, Section 5, buying your independence. Now that we've completely shifted our mindset away from impressing strangers and toward buying our freedom, how do we actually do this? Well, listen to this mind-blowing fact. 99%. Warren Buffett is arguably the greatest investor of all time, worth over $100 billion. But 99% of his net worth was accumulated after his 60th birthday. Let that sink in for a second. It wasn't just that he picked the right stocks. It's that he let compound interest do the heavy lifting over an absurdly long timeline. Patience is the ultimate financial superpower. You don't need to be an extraordinary investor. You just need to be an average investor for an above-average period of time. So, this all boils down to what we can call the kindergarten list of finance. It's incredibly simple. Spend less than you make, save the difference, and be patient. This unbelievably simple list of behaviors is infinitely more effective than any complex Wall Street formula or fancy trading algorithm. It's really all you need to know. But of course, simple doesn't always mean easy, right? Because we have to fight our own human nature to actually stick to it. So here is your daily playbook to combat that ignorance and take emotion completely out of the equation. First, check your bank account daily. It takes 10 seconds, but it totally destroys financial ignorance. You can't manage what you don't measure. Second, treat savings as a mandatory expense, exactly like rent or groceries. It's not some optional nice to have if there's money left over at the end of the month. Third, automate it. Take your own flawed human emotions right out of the system. Automatically move that money the second your paycheck hits. And finally, apply the 10% rule to everything. Get a $50 tip, save $5. Make $100 walking a dog, save 10. Anything is exponentially better than nothing. So, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on long after this explainer is over. The very next time you pull out your credit card, I want you to ask yourself, are you spending to impress strangers who aren't even looking at you, or are you saving to buy your freedom? You have the power to control your expectations, and you have the power to buy your own independence. The choice is entirely yours. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep focusing on what truly matters, and I will see you in the next explainer.